Okay, so you are in love with someone who has borderline personality disorder. You have this intense feeling of love and compassion and kindness and nurturing. In fact, sometimes the feeling of love that you have for them is overwhelming. And you love so much that it hurts. And you have this experience because of the intensity of the love that you feel for them, because you see how deeply they need to be loved. You have an understanding of what they've been through and what they haven't experienced, and you are going to be the one because you have a special connection with them that nobody else could possibly understand. They've even said to you that you are the one that loves them the most. They even use words like, "You're the best person. You love me more than anybody." And you, combined with that, when it works, when they let you in and they let you love them and they soak it all up and then they give that love back to you, it is the best, most fulfilling, truly loving experience you've ever had in your life. Right? Wrong. It's all an illusion. You think that you love them. Your feelings are very sincere. Your feelings are very intense. You've never felt such intense love. When you think about the pain that they go through, when you see them going through their pain, when you see them reacting either to you or to life, and you know the trauma and the tragedy that they've survived, the love within you becomes so painful, and the need that you have to take care of them and to nurture them becomes overwhelming. It becomes the complete focus of your life. So your feelings are very real and they're very sincere, but it isn't love. Just like the borderline does not have the capacity to love you back, just like when the borderline is love bombing you and when they are in their idealization phase of you, as intense as that may seem, it's not love. So from their perspective, it's not true love because true love has the ability to last. As you know, their love doesn't last very long. Their love lasts as long as the mood strikes them. And as soon as they become stimulated because of the intimacy, when they become stimulated to see you as the enemy because they're afraid and they are trying to protect themselves, as you know, it can be over in a second. So that's obviously not love because that's not how love works. Real love, is connected to long term growth, long term commitment. Real love has tolerance within it. So if you're with somebody that you love and they do or say something that bothers you or hurts you, you have the ability to tolerate that feeling and continue to act lovingly towards them. Maybe you need to talk to them and say, "Hey, what did you mean by that?" Or, "When you said that, that hurt my feelings." And then you can understand what they really meant. And even if they were acting out of their selfishness, you have the ability to forgive them, to accept that they're human and move on. Borderlines don't have any of those mature understandings. They don't have the ability to do that. So you know their love is fleeting. And so you're hoping to have that and recreate that. And you hope that you can create the scenario where they never get triggered. And so you can keep them in that loving state all the time. And no matter how hard you try to figure out what is the perfect recipe to make sure that they don't get triggered and they always see me as somebody safe, no matter what you do, what works one day will not work another day. So you figure out one day, and they say this, and they say, well, if you just say it to me this way, or if you just do this, and you say, okay, yes, I'll do it that way from here on out, and that's what I mean when I say it. And they say, oh, okay, in the future, I'll understand when you say it this way that it really means this. You can follow that exact same pattern that you've both talked about, which will work, and the next day it won't work at all. In fact, the one thing that made her laugh yesterday and made her kiss you and want to have sex with you, that very same thing the next day will be the absolute worst thing anybody has ever said to anybody. And there's just no way that you will ever get them to not drop their love for you. That's obvious. That's not love. So you can see that that's not real love what they have. What you don't see is that what you feel is not real love either. What you're feeling is you are transferring or projecting your feelings of love either to somebody who has harmed you, like your mother or your father. You are taking those same needs that you have to be loved and approved of by your significant parent figure who rejected you in whatever way it was that was so traumatic. You're trying to recreate that. That's why you're attracted to borderlines, because on an unconscious level, you know that they're going to reject you. You wouldn't be attracted to them if they were going to accept you, right? Because people who aren't borderline or don't have some major serious problem are boring, right? Well, the reason why they're boring to you is because they would actually love you, and you wouldn't have to go through all that chaos and drama that you still haven't resolved. You haven't resolved it, so you're looking for somebody who will stimulate that chaos within you so that you can get it right. You're trying to fix it. You're trying to fix the original problem that happened to you as a little kid. That's the one thing you're doing. The other thing you're doing is you're projecting your needs for love and nurturing and wanting to be saved. You want to be saved also. But in order to feel safe with all of those intense needs of wanting somebody to save you and love you, you project it onto somebody else, another victim. So you find the borderline, because the borderline is very victimized, as you can sense it on an unconscious emotional level. You can sense how victimized they are, even if when you first meet them, they're these really charming, intelligent people. On an unconscious level, you know what's going on. And you seek them out, and you focus all of that feeling you have about yourself. I'm unlovable. Why won't anybody love me? If only somebody saw me for who I was. If only somebody would truly love me, I would be okay. I just want somebody to scoop me up and take me in their arms and love me. You project that onto them, and you take those feelings that you have for yourself, those needs, and you give that to the borderline, who the borderline's happy to take on that role because they do have that need. And then you give to the borderline what you really want for yourself, which is to be saved. So your feelings, the intensity of your need to love them, is really not for them, it's for you. The intensity of your need to love them is your intense need to be loved. And just like the borderline, who can't handle any real intimacy, true emotional bonding, when I say the word intimacy, I mean emotional intimacy. I don't mean physical intimacy. Physical intimacy is a very easy way to escape. It's a way to get, kind of childishly, your need for attention and affection. At the same time, it's a really great way to divert you from your pain. That's why you and borderlines have really great sex, because you both need to escape. But when that turns into real bonding and real intimacy, what happens? In fact, how many times have you had just the best sex of your life with your borderline, and you're sitting there and you guys are holding each other and you're doing all the pillow talk and you're planning your life, and then the next day they wake up and decide you're the worst person that's ever walked the planet. Or some people have said that, in the middle of the night they've been choked, stabbed, and beaten, Why do you think that is? It's because what? You had sex the night before, right? Maybe. And you had a really close bonding experience, right? Well, guess what happened? The borderline went to sleep and they went into their unconscious, and their inability, what the intimacy that they crave is the very thing that triggers them back to their original infantile trauma. And so the feeling of being, and when you give them love and they start to really feel it, instead of it taking hold and making them feel good, what it does is it brings them back to when they were originally abandoned, and that's what they feel and they project onto you. That's why. So the very thing that you think is going to fix them is the very thing that's going to make them reject you. What's crazy making about it is that they work really hard to get you to the place of vulnerability where you will give them that. That's what's so crazy about them. That's what's so confusing about them. And that's also confusing for them too. They don't realize that. When they're seeking your love and your intimacy, they don't realize they're setting themselves up to reject you. They're not aware of that. All of this is happening on an unconscious level. But the bottom line is that you love the borderline that intensely because they are incapable of loving you back. That's the whole essence of codependence. And so while you can sit there and say that you have more love than anybody in the world, I love too much, right? It's nonsense. It's total narcissism. You are projecting your selfish need to be loved and saved onto somebody that can't give it back to you. That's why you love them so much, because you see in them how broken they are, and you project your own unconscious feelings of brokenness about yourself onto them. You're trying to fix yourself through them. On an unconscious level, you think if you can fix them, you'll be fixed. The other thing is that if you were to take those feelings to somebody who was able to give them back to you, you would be frightened and you would be scared. Because just like the borderline, you would be brought back to your original time of trauma, and that would cause you to feel pain you don't want to feel. So ironically enough, the pain that the borderline causes you isn't as bad as the pain you would have to feel if you truly allowed somebody to love you. So let's cut the crap. This is why, if you've seen on here, I'm very kind on this channel, my other channel, my real channel. When I think somebody's full of crap, I come at them pretty hard. But here I try not to do that because this is a different place. But if I see a comment and I think somebody's in denial, I will point it out to them. But if you are projecting that need, your feeling of I need to love them, I can't live without loving them and taking care of them and fixing them. If you think that is an honest, truly loving place, you are wrong. It is selfish. And it is your way of avoiding your own deep feelings of unlovability, your own deep trauma. You're feeling that nobody will ever love you, and you're gonna get that by loving the unlovable, somebody who can't accept your love. You're gonna force your love onto them, and you're gonna fix them. And what it means is that that's what you want somebody to do for you. But if somebody did come along and give that to you, you would reject it. And there are some people on here who talk about how they go after borderlines because of the excitement. And because they don't have any emotional feelings among, non-borderlines. What that means is that they are so traumatized that they need to have such a level of dysfunction to let them tap into any feelings. And the only feelings that they're able to tap into is those feelings associated with trauma. It's not real love. It's just another drug. So that's it. That's my not very succinct way of saying that the feelings of love that you have for the borderline have nothing to do with them. They have only stimulated your own deep, desperate need to be loved, and this is your unconscious attempt at fixing yourself by projecting it onto them. You don't truly love them. You think you do, but you don't. Because love, true love, does not exist between a borderline and a codependent. True love is a two-way street, and if you are in a one-way street, it's not true love. Sorry. That's why codependents need therapy. They need therapy, and I believe they also need 12-step work. So Codependence Anonymous is my recommendation, and working with a qualified psychologist. You can't heal yourself. You need to be able to go into how deep your trauma is and get some healing so that you can love yourself enough to be able to actually love somebody else truly and have them love you back. So if you want to be happy, you got to get out of that relationship with the borderline. You're not helping them. The kindest thing you can do for a borderline, if they truly are a borderline, is to say to them, I love you, but this relationship is damaging to me, and so for my own health, I have to get out and I have to not have any contact with you. And if you can get into therapy, regular therapy with a trained psychologist, trained in borderline personality disorder, and you can do that on a regular basis, like twice a week for a year. If after that year you still want to communicate with me, give me a call. I tell you that because you know that's not going to happen. You know that a borderline is, because that would show true love and commitment. If a borderline were to do that and to really, really commit to their own healing for a year, and call you back, that would mean that they had real love for you. You and I both know that they don't have the ability to do that. So that's why one of the reasons I say that. Because number one, it's true. That is the kindest thing for them. And that would be the thing that if you truly want to help them, that is the only thing that will help them if they can be helped. That truly is the only thing. But you and I both know that the likelihood of that happening with your borderline is virtually impossible. And that's another way for you to see in reality that they didn't love you. You think they did, but they didn't. And you can't get them to love you. All right, that's it for this video. I'll see you guys soon.